help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Please like the video and share your thoughts on the video. Your feedback helps make the contents better. Now let's get to the story.
The envelope felt like ice in my hands. My fiancée, Sarah, was already halfway across the room, her heels clicking against the marble floor of the venue we'd rented for our engagement party. I could hear the laughter of our guests in the background, the clinking of champagne glasses, someone's aunt telling an embarrassing story about Sarah's childhood. But all of that felt like it was happening in another universe, because right there, in my trembling fingers, were photographs. 6 of them, clear as daylight. Sarah, some guy I'd never seen before, a hotel room, dates stamped in the corner. The most recent one was from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks. I'd been planning our future while she'd been building a lie. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm 32 years old, and up until about 3 minutes ago, I thought I had my whole life figured out. I'm a software engineer at a tech startup in San Francisco. Nothing fancy, but I make decent money. Enough to afford the ring that was currently sitting on Sarah's finger. Enough to put a down payment on the condo we were supposed to move into next month. Enough to believe that hard work and honesty actually meant something. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, raised by a single mom who worked 2 jobs to put me through college. She taught me that integrity was everything, that you treat people right, and life treats you right back. Looking at those photos, I realized how naive that sounded. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My mother said I wouldn't even reach 1,000 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show her that these stories matter. Sarah reached me, her face a perfect mask of concern. She was good at that, making faces, playing roles. I should know. I'd been her audience for 3 years. "Marcus, baby, what's wrong? You look pale. What was in that envelope?" Her hand reached for the photos, but I pulled them back. Something in my movement must have given it away because her eyes widened just slightly. Fear, real, genuine fear. Not the fake emotion she'd been feeding me for God knows how long. "Marcus," her voice dropped lower, "let me explain." I looked at her, really looked at her, the woman I'd planned to spend my life with. Brown eyes that I'd called beautiful, lips I'd kissed 1,000 times, and all I could think was, "Who are you?" Explain? The word came out rough, like I'd swallowed glass. Explain which part, Sarah? The part where you've been sleeping with someone else? Or the part where you let me stand up in front of 200 people tonight and talk about how lucky I am? People were starting to notice. Her mother was making her way over, that concerned look that mothers get when they sense their child's about to cause a scene. Sarah's friends, the bridesmaids she'd already picked out, were hovering nearby. My best friend Jake was pushing through the crowd, probably wondering why the happy couple suddenly looked like they were at a funeral. "Not here," Sarah hissed. "Please, Marcus, not here. Let's go somewhere private." I almost laughed. Private. Like she cared about privacy when she was spreading her legs for someone else in hotel rooms across the city. But I didn't laugh. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. Instead, I did something I'd learned from my mother. I got quiet. Dangerously quiet. "You're right," I said. "Not here." I turned to walk away, and Sarah grabbed my arm. "Marcus, where are you going? Marcus, please, just listen to me for 5 minutes. It's not what it looks like." I looked down at her hand on my sleeve. Perfectly manicured nails, the engagement ring catching the light. I wondered how many times she'd touched him with those same hands, how many lies those perfectly glossed lips had told. I pulled my arm free, gentle but firm, and walked out of that venue without another word. Behind me, I could hear the confused murmur of guests, Sarah calling my name, someone asking what was happening. I didn't care. I just needed air. I needed space. I needed to think. That night, I sat in my apartment, the apartment I was planning to give up for our shared condo, and stared at those photos until my eyes burned. My phone was blowing up, texts from Sarah, calls from her friends. Even her mother had the nerve to message me, asking me to be reasonable and hear Sarah out. Reasonable, as if there was a reasonable explanation for betrayal. Around midnight, my best friend Jake showed up with a six-pack and a pizza. He didn't ask questions, just sat next to me on the couch and waited. Jake and I went back to college, roommates who'd survived terrible dining hall food and worse hangovers together. He was the one who'd introduced me to Sarah, actually. She'd been a friend of his girlfriend at the time. Some introduction. "I take it the engagement party didn't end how you planned," he finally said. I handed him one of the photos, watched his face go from confused to angry in about 3 seconds. "Jesus Christ, Marcus, how long?" "Based on the dates, at least 6 months, maybe longer. Who knows what the mystery woman didn't photograph?" "Mystery woman? Who gave you these?" That was the question, wasn't it? The woman had appeared out of nowhere, walked straight up to me in the middle of my engagement party, handed me the envelope, and vanished before I could even process what was happening. She'd been dressed simply, jeans and a dark jacket, blonde hair pulled back. I wouldn't recognize her if I saw her again. No idea. Some stranger.
Jake was quiet for a moment, thinking. He worked in cybersecurity, his brain always running scenarios and possibilities. That's weird, man. Someone went through a lot of trouble to expose Sarah. Following her, taking photos, tracking you down at your engagement party. That's not random. Does it matter? The photos are real. The dates are real. I gestured at my phone, which was still lighting up with messages. Her not denying it is real. I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying someone wanted you to know. Someone with a grudge against Sarah, maybe, or against both of you. He paused. Or someone who knew the truth and thought you deserved better. I hadn't thought about it like that. I'd been too busy drowning in my own anger and humiliation. But Jake had a point. Someone out there knew about Sarah's affair and cared enough about me or hated her enough to make sure I found out before the wedding. Before I made the biggest mistake of my life. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls from Sarah and a voicemail from her that I deleted without listening to. I also had a message from my boss, probably wondering why I wasn't answering emails about the product launch we had coming up, and a text from my mom in Ohio, who'd heard about the engagement party disaster from her sister who'd been there. "Call me when you're ready, sweetheart. I love you." I called in sick to work. Then I sat down at my computer and did what I do best. I started digging. If someone had gone through the trouble of documenting Sarah's affair, there had to be more to find. And if I was going to move forward, if I was going to figure out what came next, I needed to know everything. Sarah's social media was a carefully curated highlight reel of our relationship. Photos of us at restaurants, on hikes, at friends' weddings. Captions about love and gratitude and finding your person. Looking at it made me sick, but I scrolled deeper, looking for clues I'd missed. Comments from people I didn't recognize, tags at locations I didn't remember visiting, check-ins at hotels that we'd never stayed at together. Then I found him. Not in Sarah's photos, but in the background of one posted by her friend Jennifer from 3 months ago. A group dinner at some upscale restaurant downtown. Sarah was at one end of the table, me at the other, and right in the middle, talking to Jennifer like they were old friends, was him, the guy from the photos. I recognized the jawline, the build, the way he held his drink. He was there, at a dinner with our friends, while I was sitting 10 feet away, completely oblivious. I screenshotted the image and ran it through a reverse image search. Got lucky. His name was Derek Hammond, 35, worked in finance at some investment firm in the financial district. Married. My stomach dropped. The guy Sarah was cheating on me with was married, which meant there was another person out there getting betrayed by these two. Another person's life was built on lies. I found his wife's profile easily enough. Amanda Hammond. She was beautiful, a kindergarten teacher based on her bio, with photos of colorful classrooms and kids' artwork. Her most recent post was from a week ago, a picture of her and Derek at some charity gala. Her in a stunning red dress, him in a tux, both smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. The caption read, "Grateful for this man and the life we're building together." My hands were shaking as I stared at that photo. This woman had no idea, just like I had no idea. We were both living in a fantasy while our partners destroyed everything behind our backs. I could have stopped there, could have walked away, licked my wounds, and moved on with my life. But something Jake said kept echoing in my head. Someone wanted me to know. Someone cared enough to expose the truth. And looking at Amanda Hammond's smiling face, I realized she deserved to know too. But more than that, Sarah and Derek deserved consequences, real consequences, not just a broken engagement and some awkward conversations. They'd made calculated choices to hurt people they loved. They lied and snuck around and built elaborate deceptions while we were planning futures with them. And they needed to understand that actions had prices. I spent the next 2 weeks planning. I ignored Sarah's increasingly desperate attempts to contact me, ignored her friends showing up at my door, ignored her mother's messages about giving her daughter a chance to explain. There was nothing to explain. The photos said everything. Instead, I focused on gathering information. I created a fake social media profile and started following Derek's business associates, found out his firm was about to close a major deal, some merger that would make him a senior partner. I tracked his schedule through his wife's innocent posts about date nights and weekend plans. I documented every hotel Sarah checked into through credit card statements from our joint account, which I still had access to, every dinner, every lie. And I reached out to Amanda Hammond. I know what you're thinking, but hear me out, because this is where my story gets interesting. If you've made it this far, I hope you'll stick around to see how this ends. Real revenge isn't about yelling or breaking things. It's about strategy. It's about patience. It's about making sure the people who wronged you understand exactly what they've lost.
I sent Amanda a simple message through Facebook. "We need to talk about your husband and my fiancé. I have proof of their affair. I'm not looking for drama. I just think you deserve to know the truth before you waste any more of your life." I attached one of the photos, carefully cropped so she couldn't see anything graphic, just enough to show Derek and Sarah together in a clearly intimate setting. She didn't respond for 3 days. I'd almost given up hope when my phone buzzed with a message. "Coffee? Tomorrow at 2 p.m.? There's a place called Blue Bottle on Market Street." I got there early, ordered a black coffee I didn't drink, and waited. Amanda walked in at exactly 2 p.m., and I recognized her immediately from her photos. But in person, she looked smaller, tired, like she'd been carrying a weight I couldn't see. She spotted me in the corner, came over, sat down without ordering anything. "Show me everything," she said. So I did. Every photo, every hotel receipt, every piece of evidence I'd compiled. I watched her face stay perfectly still, perfectly controlled as she absorbed it all. When I was done, she looked up at me with dry eyes and said, "How long have you known?" 2 weeks, since our engagement party. Someone gave me these photos. "Who?" "I don't know. A stranger." She nodded slowly, like that made perfect sense. "And what are you planning to do with this information?" "Honestly, I'm still figuring that out, but I thought you deserved to know." Amanda was quiet for a long moment, staring at the photos on the table between us. Then she said something I didn't expect. "Derek's firm is closing a major merger next week. He's about to make partner. It's the culmination of 10 years of work. If this comes out now, he'll lose everything." "I know." "And Sarah? What does she do?" "She's a publicist for a boutique PR firm, handles social media and image management for high-profile clients." Amanda smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who'd just seen all the pieces fall into place. So, they both have reputations to protect, careers built on trust and image. Yeah, good. She stood up, gathering the photos. I'm keeping these. And, Marcus, when you figure out your plan, let me know. I'd like to help. Over the next week, Amanda and I became unlikely allies. We met 3 more times, always at different coffee shops, always careful. She was brilliant, methodical, and absolutely done with being the good wife who looked the other way. Together, we crafted a plan that was simple but devastating. The merger Derek's firm was working on was with a family-owned company that valued integrity and Christian values, the kind of company that would absolutely care about the moral character of the people they were partnering with. Amanda had access to Derek's email through their shared iPad. She found messages between Derek and Sarah going back 8 months, detailed plans about hotels, complaints about their respective partners, even discussions about leaving us both after Derek made partner. Sarah's PR firm had just landed a major contract with a women's wellness brand, something about empowerment and authentic living, the kind of brand that would absolutely not want their PR representative exposed as someone who built a career on managing images while destroying lives behind the scenes. Our plan was simple: exposure. But not messy, emotional exposure. Calculated, professional exposure that would hit them where it hurt most. On the morning of Derek's merger announcement, Amanda sent an anonymous email to the CEO of the family company they were partnering with. The email contains selected photos and excerpts from Derek's messages to Sarah, all presented as coming from a concerned party who thought they should know about the character of the man about to become their partner. I copied Derek's boss and several board members. At the same time, I sent a package to Sarah's boss at the PR firm. Inside was a flash drive containing every photo, every receipt, every piece of evidence of her affair, along with a simple note: "Is this the kind of authentic living your new client wants to be associated with?" From a concerned former fiancé. Then we waited. The explosion was more spectacular than I had imagined. Derek's merger didn't just fall apart, it imploded. The family company pulled out completely, citing moral and ethical concerns about leadership. Derek's firm, furious about losing such a major deal, launched an internal investigation. By the end of the week, Derek had been put on indefinite leave pending review of his conduct. Sarah's situation was somehow even worse. Her boss called an emergency meeting with the wellness brand. When they saw the evidence of Sarah's double life, the carefully constructed affair, while presenting herself as a relationship expert on social media, they didn't just drop Sarah's firm. They issued a public statement about cutting ties due to conflicts with our brand values. Sarah's boss fired her the same day, and the story spread through the tight-knit San Francisco PR community like wildfire. But we weren't done.
Amanda filed for divorce and made sure the lawyer included every piece of evidence in the filing, which became public record. I did the same with our engagement cancellation, posting a simple statement on social media. To everyone who attended our engagement party 2 weeks ago, I want to thank you for your support. Unfortunately, Sarah and I will not be getting married. I discovered she had been having an affair for the better part of our relationship. I wish her well, but I will not be building a life on a foundation of lies. I didn't tag Sarah, didn't need to. Mutual friends shared it. Her family saw it. Our entire community knew within hours. The messages started pouring in. Friends I'd thought were Sarah's friends reaching out to say they'd suspected something was off. Colleagues from her old job admitting they'd seen warning signs. Even her own sister sent me a message. "I'm so sorry, Marcus. She did this to her last boyfriend, too. I tried to warn you." Within a month, both Sarah and Derek's lives had unraveled. Derek's wife filed for divorce, and got the house, the cars, and a generous settlement that would make his new reduced income very uncomfortable. His career in finance was effectively over in San Francisco. The story had spread too far. Sarah lost her job, her reputation, and most of her friends. The engagement ring? I sold it and donated the money to a charity that supported betrayed spouses. 3 months later, I ran into Sarah at a coffee shop. She looked different, thinner, tired. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, no makeup, wearing sweats, not the carefully put-together woman I'd known. She saw me, and for a moment I thought she might walk over. Instead, she just stood there, staring, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Genuine regret. Not regret that she'd been caught, regret for who she'd become. I nodded at her, polite but distant, and walked past. I didn't owe her conversation, didn't owe her closure. She'd made her choices, and now she was living with them. As for me, I took a job offer from a company in Seattle. New city, fresh start. Amanda and I stayed friends, texting occasionally about our new lives. She was dating a teacher from her school, someone kind and honest. I wasn't ready for that yet, but I was getting there. The mystery woman who gave me that envelope, I never found out who she was. Maybe it was someone Derek had hurt before. Maybe it was a friend of Amanda's who'd figured it out. Maybe it was just a stranger who believed in karma. It didn't matter. What mattered was that someone cared enough to give me the truth, and I cared enough to make sure it counted. Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet and strategic. Sometimes it's just making sure the people who wronged you face the natural consequences of their actions. Sarah and Derek didn't lose everything because I destroyed them. They lost everything because they built their success on lies, and lies always collapse eventually. I just helped speed up the inevitable. My mom called me last week from Ohio. I'm proud of you, Marcus, for handling this with dignity, for not becoming bitter. I'm not sure about the bitter part. Some days I still am, but I'm also free. Free from lies, free from a future built on deception, and that's worth more than any revenge could ever be. To everyone who listened to this story, thank you. Your support means more than you know, and if you're going through something similar, remember this: the truth always comes out eventually. You just have to decide if you want to be the one holding the shovel or the one buried under the lies. I chose the shovel, and I'd make that choice every single time. If you made it to the end of this story, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from, because I'm curious to know how far these stories reach. Are you watching from your bedroom in Manila at 2 a.m.? From your lunch break in Toronto? Maybe you're on the subway in New York or sitting in traffic somewhere in Texas. Wherever you are, let me know your city or country. I've noticed we have an amazing community here, with so many of you tuning in from the US, the Philippines, Canada, and especially New York. It blows my mind that people from all these different places connect over stories like Marcus's. It reminds me that heartbreak, betrayal, and the need for justice are universal, no matter where you're from. So comment below with your location, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. These stories need to be told, and your support makes that possible. See you in the next one.